What was it like for you when you had a daughter?
Oh, earlier I mentioned that my wife wasn't, she likes to go fishing with us and stuff, but it wasn't her hunting and fishing and things weren't her primary focus in life at all. What was interesting is the minute we found out we were having a girl, she made like a point to sort of like almost like formally approach me about this. She's like, you need to promise me right now that when it comes to the pursuits that you're into, you will not treat our daughter differently than you're treating our boy. And you will not deny her access to the things that you're offering to our son. And that's the thing that used to, I don't even tell you that used to happen. I got a friend who used to look at the demographics of, he was a historian. He used to look at hunter demographics over time in America. And he had found that if a woman hunted, she hunted because she never had brothers, or she hunted because she was the firstborn.
Really?
Because the old man was like, well, shit, I guess I got to take her. Right. And that was like honestly, it was like the thing. Let me talk about in my own family. Okay. I'm talking extended family and everything. There is not one guy of, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and 20, like males in my, that are alive walking around now in my extended family. Not one of them doesn't hunt and fish to some extent. Of the women, not one of them does.
That's wild.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's definitely there is undeniably some there's physiological factors at play. Okay. There's like emotional and physiological factors at play that have to skew it somehow. Right. If someone told me that without any kind of sociological overlay, there'd still be a split. It wouldn't be 50-50. Let's say it'd be 60-40 or something like that. Right. I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But that level of split is definitely a societal component of that, of how we've sort of defined what is acceptable behavior. And maybe, we're all products of our time, right? But I definitely want, the minute I knew I was going to have a daughter, I was already envisioning her as I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have a daughter, I'm going to have a daughter that knows how to shoot a gun real good. I don't know why. I just felt that way. And I think that had I been born 50 years before, that would not have been the thing that jumped in my head. I might have had some idea, I'm going to protect her from all that, and she's going to be very feminine. I don't know. It's hard to sort out, man. But in my generation, it's absolutely true. All the dudes I grew up with, all the guys I grew up with hunted and fished. And just the women I grew up with did not. And it's not all some physiological thing. It's a lot of how dads view spending time with their daughters. And it historically has been a lower priority, or they lived a very different experience, right? They lived a very different experience for their daughters than they did for their boys. And I don't have that. I don't have interest in that, man. That hasn't been what I'm into at all with my girl.
I know you don't watch Yellowstone or 1883 or anything, but what you just described is literally 1883. It's a strong female character who hunts, kicks ass, and ends up getting killed at the end. But whatever, man.
That was too bad.
Yeah, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, tough shit at this point, one of the highest rated shows on TV. We're all good. But yeah, that's interesting you say that, because just thinking about my wife, she grew up, with her father, and she played softball. And I was like, why were you in competitive softball? Why were you so into it? She was like, my dad was a Yankees fan, and it was a good way to connect with my dad. So it makes sense with, everything you're describing, where it's just now that you really think about it, yeah, if you're a firstborn, for sure, or you're with your father all the time, for sure. And if she really does want to head out to LA, killing turkeys is the first thing she should know, having lived there for 18 years. Dude, there's a lot of fucking turkeys out in LA. And what does she want to do? Did she say, an actress or something?
Oh, I don't know. I've had to go there for meetings. And I would, she's kind of like my buddy when it comes to, if I got to go do a business meeting, I'll sometimes bring her along. And so I don't know, the just something about the palm trees and shit really speaks to her. But no, she's 9, man. She doesn't have a concrete sense of what she's going to do there, but just something about it seems like the place she feels that's the place she belongs, right? In a very kind of young, some semi innocent way. She's drawn to that now. So yeah, we'll see what happens to her. But for now, I want her to participate in those things. Like I've never been. You just mentioned someone growing up playing softball. I've never been into organized sports of any sort, man. I was not into it. And that's another, I was talking about, I keep betraying all the points of conflict I have with my spouse. That's another one is I discourage my kids from doing organized sports because I like to have time for us to roam around. Right. And the thing about it is though, that I have a certain like enthusiasm and skill set for a certain group of activities. Mm-hmm. I want to like take my kids and show them the world as I see it. And I want them to see what it's like to like be with someone who has like an infectious enthusiasm about a certain lifestyle, a knowledge base about it, right? A proficiency at it. So I feel that that's the place where I want to engage with my kids. If I was a mega sports fan and super into sports, I would probably have some version. I would have some version of that was more sports themed. I don't think though right now I would sit here writing a book. Like I can't picture a dad writing a book of like how I struggled to get my kids into sports. Maybe that's a book. I don't know. But it's just like a different thing because it seems to be an easier path. Right. But inviting them into understanding their ecology and the natural world, there's just more, I feel like there's more conflict. You know, there's more inertia against you when you're trying to do that style.
Yeah. Well, what did you do when you guys were in the big city then? When you were in Seattle or New York? Because you don't have any of that anywhere around you. I've lived in New York a couple of times in my life. Yeah. I mean, you have nothing like that of the sort. And you're probably truthfully an hour and a half away from it. Yeah. What did you guys do when you were in the cities together?
I was tenacious about it, man. I didn't take no for an answer. Like I would, and it's hard too, dude. I'm not even going to come and act like if you got a bunch of little kids and they need to have like nap times and there's diapers and shit and snacks, it's hard. And I think that a lot of people give up, but we would find it where it was. I mean, we would even, this is going to sound crazy, man, but at times we I taught my kids how to catch street pigeons, and we would catch street pigeons and I would show them how to cook pigeons. We would go to the park and go to the weirdest, wildest places in the parks, man. We would find bluegills spawning in Prospect Park in Brooklyn and fish for them. I mean, I really went out of my way. We'd go below oak trees and gather acorns. I showed them how to make acorn flour at a young age. We'd find all kinds of wild edibles. We just do wild stuff. You know, we'd roam around and I'd be like, see that bird? Like if you're in New York, you're going to see 3 birds. You're going to see within 10 minutes, you're going to see English sparrows, European starlings, and street pigeons, right?
Yeah.
Street pigeons be like, here's an interesting bird. It's from Eurasia. In their native range, they live on cliff faces. Isn't that interesting how they found that habitat in a city? Like cliff-dwelling birds live in this city. They were brought here probably originally by the French along the St. Lawrence Seaway as a food item. Like, that's the thing people eat, man. And do that. We would even at an apartment I had, we even caught, it's long enough now, I'm not worried about getting in trouble for it anymore. Caught squirrels. I showed my kids how to skin squirrels and cook them. I mean, I took them up to, we have a little shack in Alaska. We'd spend time up there and do all kinds of other stuff. But we lived it on a day-to-day basis of engaging with nature. We grew food. We'd do anything we could to get planter boxes out and make and show them how to make food. We'd go up to, you could go up to the reservoirs that lead into the municipal water system for New York. We fished all that stuff, caught Lyme disease up there off ticks, wandering around. We just I wanted them to be, even in that environment, I wanted them to be that if you put a bug in their hand, the last thing they would ever think to do is say ew, right?
Yeah.
And they don't say ew when you put a bug in their hand. And so I don't think it's impossible, but you got to be tenacious.
Did anybody ever catch you in New York killing pigeons?
No, never.
How do you go about that? Because there's so many people everywhere you go, including the parks. Like, dude,
I'm not kidding you, man. We would sometimes go to a spot. I would show them how to do this. We'd go to a spot and lay a little bit of seed out, just sitting on a bench until you had them real close and just snatch them and put them in your pocket. I'm not kidding you, man.
That's some Mike Tyson shit. You know that, right?
Oh yeah. He was a pigeon fancier.
Yeah,
but it was like, I didn't, they're not they're a deleterious exotic. They're not if wildlife managers could wave a magic wand and have the pigeon disappear, they would wave it. Same with the other two birds I named, European starlings and English sparrows, deleterious non-natives, completely unprotected birds. They're like an exotic. They're an exotic bird that is regarded as a pest.